Albert Fish, Memories in Blood. Grey, a dark story based on true events. Chapter 1, Where Darkness Begins. New York, late 19th century. In a damp house reeking of bleach and sweat, a frail child named Hamilton Howard Fish, who would later rename himself Albert Fish, grew up in a family torn by chaos. His father died early. His mother sent him to an orphanage where beatings, pain, and screams became his nightly lullaby. But to Albert, pain became pleasure. The man no one notices. As he grew up, Albert lived like a shadow, pale, older looking than his age, soft spoken. He was the kind of man society never suspects. He worked as a house painter, drifting through neighborhoods, gaining access to hundreds of families, and most of all, children. Albert began writing anonymous letters to mothers, posing as a wealthy gentleman, luring children to come with him. In his grotesque urges, he started torturing himself, piercing his groin with needles, whipping himself with nail-studded belts, eating feces, drinking urine. He wasn't afraid of blood. He craved it. The little girl, named Grace, 1928. Grace Budd's family received a letter from a Mr. Frank Howard, inviting Grace to a birthday party for his daughter. Trusting the invitation, the Budds let Grace go with Albert. But once the door shut, there was no party. Albert Fish took her to an abandoned house in Wisteria. There, he committed something monstrous. Not only did he murder the little girl, he dismembered her, cooked her flesh, and ate her body part by part. Letter from hell. Years later, Grace's mother received a letter from Albert Fish himself. It became one of the most horrifying written confessions in history. I took Grace to the Wisteria house. I stripped her. I knew she would scream, so I cut her throat, cooked her flesh, and ate it over 9 days. There was no remorse. The letter was grotesquely detailed. Using it, police traced the hotel he mailed it from and arrested Albert Fish in 1934. Billy Gaffney, the boy who was cooked. 4-year-old Billy Gaffney was playing in the hallway of his Brooklyn apartment building when he vanished. The only witness, his 3-year-old friend, simply said, "The boogeyman took Billy." That boogeyman was Albert Fish. Fish later confessed to abducting Billy, tying him with leather straps, gagging him, and taking him home. There he subjected Billy to unthinkable torture. He peeled the boy's skin off in strips, while he was still alive, cut off his ears, nose, and eyes with rusty scissors, sawed off his limbs and hung him upside down like butchered livestock. Then he cooked the remains, especially the heart, liver, buttocks, and belly, and ate them. In a letter to police, he wrote, "I roasted Billy's behind in the oven. It took me 9 days to finish eating it." Billy Gaffney's body was never found. All his family had left was a nightmare. Francis McDonnell, Death in the Woods. 8-year-old. Francis McDonnell was playing on Staten Island when he went missing. His body was later found hanging from a tree, clothes torn apart, signs of strangulation with a belt. Autopsy revealed, strangled unconscious, molested, and then choked to death. Bruises and cuts showed he had been savagely beaten before dying. Locals reported seeing a white-haired old man with scars, carrying a whip, wandering the woods that day. The image haunted the press, who dubbed him the Grey Man, or the Werewolf of Wisteria. Molestation and torture of hundreds of children. Fish didn't always kill his victims, but he frequently kidnapped and abused children, especially those no one cared to search for. He targeted black children, who were less investigated at the time, torturing them with needles, thorns, and beatings, then letting them go, forced them to eat feces, drink urine, tied them to poles, electrocuted them with crude wiring. Some had nails driven through their hands and feet. He picked orphans, the poor, the forgotten ones. The mind of a demon. When captured, Fish confessed to murdering at least 3 people and molesting over 100 children. He claimed God had commanded him, that he was inspired by the Bible, and that eating children's flesh was how I saved their souls. An X-ray revealed 29 rusty needles lodged deep in his groin, a brutal act of self-torture he inflicted upon himself voluntarily. The electric chair and the blood-stained smile. Sing Sing Prison. The final night, January 16th, 1936. Sing Sing Prison, on the edge of the Hudson River, was colder and darker than ever. In solitary, 65-year-old Albert Fish, frail, wrinkled like dried bark, sat beneath a flickering yellow light. He penned his final words in black ink. I don't know how many crimes I've committed. Some children, I only remember the smell of their meat, not their faces. I know where I'm going. It will be hot. And I hope it hurts. When asked if he wanted a priest, he smiled faintly. No, God was in every scream I heard. I've lived enough as a disciple of pain. The Room of Death, 11:59 p.m. Albert Fish was led out in shackles, eyes fixed on the moldy wall ahead. He didn't flinch. When he saw the old electric chair, he smiled and touched it like greeting a long-lost lover. I've always dreamed of sitting in this, just to feel the final jolt. He sat, straps tightened, a thick leather bit stuffed into his mouth, electrodes placed on his head and legs. The operator began the countdown. The first shock, a malfunction from hell. The switch was thrown, a faint pop, a flash of bluish-purple light. The room shook slightly, but something went wrong. The fuse blew. Smoke rose from Fish's twitching body, but he was still alive. The entire system had short-circuited. Why? Inside his body were at least 29 rusty needles, 5 to 10 centimeters long, embedded deep into his groin and lower abdomen. They conducted electricity, causing a circuit overload. One technician gasped. He brought so much hell inside himself, even the machine feared him. The second shock. A wedding of blood. Once the fuse was replaced, they tried again. This time, 2,000 volts surged through him. Blood burst from his nose, mouth, and ears. His hands clenched the strap so tightly his fingernails tore off. His body smoked, flesh seared, eyes rolled white, and yet he smiled. A witness said, "We didn't know if it was electrocution or a climax." After 4 minutes, Albert Fish was declared dead. The room stank of burnt flesh, rusted iron, and old sweat. The final note, never released. Before his death, Fish left behind a final document. Confession to God, to the devil, and to the children I've loved. His lawyer read it and refused to release it, saying, "I've read it, and I will take it to my grave. If the public ever saw it, society would never sleep again."